So we're talking about UFC 281, Alex Pereira against Israel Adesanya. Man, everyone's talking about the gloves, the big gloves versus the small gloves. Man, when you look at that, you got to think like in the kickboxing, who is that an advantage for, man, back in the day when they fought? Who would you think that's an advantage for and why?
I think it would definitely play more into Pereira's style because he's a lot more sort of power based. So if you hit a glove here, he's on a clip shops. It's a lot easier to miss in the little gloves, especially like for 4 ounces. It's a lot easier to slip and counter. So the little gloves always favor like the more sort of active defensive fighter, guy who's harder to be hit, sort of thing.
Well, I would say that would be Adesanya, bro. If you look at it, Pereira's guard is hands up, like using his hands. Adesanya's guard is moving his head, man, and moving his body better. I actually
That's what
think
I mean. Like his advantages are easy in these little gloves here.
yeah. No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I thought you were saying the other way around. Yeah,
No,
so
no, 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 no.
you'd
Yeah.
say on two hands, right? Like so,
hmm
Pereira obviously power puncher, man. He lands that left hook in the small gloves. It's fucking all over for just about everyone in the world. But as far as defense and movement in the majority of the fights that you watched, I'd say it's an advantage for Adesanya, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you factor in like kicks and everything like that, because Izzy's whippy kicks, if you get a right hand up in a big 12-ounce gloves, you can block it and it doesn't do too much. If you have a four, pardon me, if you have a 4-ounce glove and you still get kicked, like it can do a lot more damage that way.
Yeah, that's it, man. So looking at these two guys, bro, at the moment in the odds back home anyway, Pereira is the underdog, 2.37 to 1, Adesanya 1.57 to 1. Although I hear heaps of people talking about Pereira's going to knock him out, the odds don't seem to suggest that. They're both very experienced kickboxers. Adesanya's obviously got the experience edge when it comes to MMA, and he would have been training a lot more grappling in that over the years than Pereira has. So I think in that respect, he's got an advantage. He's also probably got a little bit more experience in kickboxing. I'm not 100% sure of the levels, although I know Pereira was a glory champion, so he's fought at the best levels. But I don't know how long he was fighting in comparison to Adesanya, who's did all circuits in China and everything, probably against probably subpar guys, but he's kind of gaining that experience at the same time. So where they sit for me is they're both got mad kickboxing skills, both pretty different style. Adesanya's got the advantage in MMA skills and MMA training, and I think he'll be a little bit more versatile.
I think also we have to factor in that Izzy's fought a lot more in a cage now compared to Pereira, whereas a lot of I guess you call ring cutting in kickboxing is very different to the cage cutting in MMA due to its four side versus eight side. And Pereira being like that sort of almost pressure counter guy, he likes to sort of get people backing up with that and he likes to control the distance and sort of get you going somewhere and hit you when you go to the spot. But having the eight sides is a lot harder to cut somebody off and sort of put them where you want to be, sort of thing.
Yeah, man. When I look at him, Pereira, I'd say his strengths are that he's a super aggressive fighter, physically imposing. He's got a mad hook, mad cross. He smells blood and he goes for the kill, sharp and strong. But then when I look at his weaknesses, I think he's very kind of orthodox style. He's a straight line fighter, guard up fighter, moving straight forward, straight backwards. In those couple of fights that I have watched of him, he did seem to get a little bit fatigued, probably more so than Izzy does. He gets hurt a few times and slows down. And he didn't seem like he could keep up with the volume of Adesanya. Adesanya's always saying, have you watched the fights? Have you watched the fights? Have you watched the fights? First fight, Pereira won, but it seemed to
hmm
be a points win to Izzy or a questionable points win to Izzy. Second fight, Izzy was killing him, and then he got knocked out. So this happens, man. It could happen in the MMA ring as well, in the MMA cage as well. But from what I saw, he was on the losing end of both of those fights until he won, which, he did win with a knockout, and that's what he's got. What do you think about his weaknesses and strengths, bro?
I think his strength is definitely he just has that touch of depth. There's a few guys in combat sports like your Wilder, like Tyson's back in the day, and like obviously I guess you can say Pierre is almost the same sort of guy in this MMA, whereas he touches you with that left hook. Like I had influenza last week, so I'm coughing heaps. My chest still isn't recovered. Killed me. But
Yeah, bro.
what's it called? Yeah, and there's a video online. It's Alex Pereira has like the scariest left hook in all of combat sports, and it's legit videos of him just like this. It's not much build up or anything, and people just drop like a sack of shit. So I think definitely his power is explosiveness and just his experience because he's going to be able to match um he's going to be probably the most comfortable person on the feet to fight Izzy on the feet, sort of thing. Obviously, that's what's so exciting about this matchup, but I think that will favor into his advantage. Whereas Izzy can get on the feet with most of these MMA guys and sort of have that almost that level above where he can use that. Whereas Pierre is used to fighting guys at that level, so it's going to even it out a lot more. And like you said, I think he slows down a bit. He's super explosive, and even though he is explosive, it's very sort of one off. Then he sits, waits, one off. There's not a lot of flowing things together.
Yeah, man. For me, obviously, I'm feeling like Adesanya is going to take it. I think the keys to the victory is shown in their previous fights, which is keeping that good distance, controlling the distance, which he did, avoiding those single big shots, working the leg kicks, which he does a little bit more so than Pereira, and using the angles, man. When you watch it in the other fights, every time he used angles, Pereira did nothing with it, man. So you see Adesanya switching to the side, and Pereira doesn't throw anything during those times. He has no answer for angling, man, because he's a straight line fighter. So I think if he uses the angles, keeps the volume up, perhaps even uses some sort of clinch, because in kickboxing you tend to sort of stop in the clinch. It depends how much work he's done. We haven't really seen Pereira tested too much in the clinch. I think that Izzy's probably got a little bit more experience just working in the gym and working in the fights, in the MMA fights in that clinch range. So he could potentially tire him out too. And an explosive guy that obviously has that explosive power, he will fade a little bit quicker than Adesanya, I feel. Anyway, so I'm picking Adesanya. I also like the way he landed big uppercuts, man. I'm thinking Adesanya is going to smash him with a big uppercut.
Especially them
On the way,
smaller
man.
gloves, shots are a lot easier to like sneak in, sort of thing.
In both fights, it seemed like that's part of his strategy, because
Hmm
Adesanya was landing some big uppercuts in both the fights. And I think that something that he saw as a weakness, it might be this guard, this high guard like this, straight up the center. And I think he
hmm
could do it again because the guard's still like that.
Yeah, and I think what also is that Alex Pereira is always ready for a firefight. Like we saw him fight Bruno Silva is a good example. Bruno Silva is nowhere near on the level of kickboxing as him, but is able to make it a dogfight and land a few clean shots at him. Where you don't really see Izzy get drawn into them sort of game plans, whereas I think Izzy's going to be a bit too technical. So yeah, I think Pereira always has that chance for a knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out sort of hunting for the knockout if he doesn't get himself finished, like you said, with Izzy's countering. Also, it's MMA, like, even though Izzy is a very competent striker, one of the best to do it in MMA, it's not like he can't wrestle. He can't mix in some takedowns, just fake some level changes, just give a completely different look, like fake a level change, throw some kicks, fake a level change, throw some punches, off a clinch, try trips and stuff like that, and just really mix it up and sort of sap him. Because if I don't think I think people expecting it to be a kickboxing fight in MMA gloves in a cage, but I think that would be playing into Pierre's strategy. And obviously, Eugene and everybody at City Kickboxing, like they're a team of geniuses, so they're obviously going to have a few other tactics which will sort of put the MMA into show. Even though Alex is training with Glover, I don't think his jiu-jitsu is going to be on the level of Izzy's. I don't think he's going to be really able to take Izzy's down. We've seen high-level wrestlers try that haven't been able to do it. We've seen Izzy throw up subs off his back and that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy implements a little bit of grappling, not to necessarily try and win the fight that way, but just give Pierre another thing to think about and just mentally tax him that way as well.
Cool. How do you think it'll finish, bro? Do you think he'll win on points? You think he'll get a KO? What do you reckon?
Um, Off his last performances, you're gonna have to probably go easy by points. But if he gets a finish, you'd probably say later rounds, I think, once Pierre gets tired. But outright, I'll go easy by decision at this point.
Cool. Got it.